Welcome back to another fun episode of Energy Bites. We've got Bobby back today. He's done dealing with the merger and acquisition. Well,
never
done dealing with it, but you're through the hard part, so to speak. So happy you're back today. Nice to see you, man.
Same here.
Enjoying the beautiful weather we're having today.
Finally, I won't sweat out here. Well, I'll sweat, but not that bad.
Right, I was gonna say it's still a little warm. And then we've got Ruchita and Brandon from Detection and Easy Ops with us. Thanks for joining us today, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Great
to be here.
Excited. Always good to have some Canadians on. So.
Yeah, we were just talking about it. I was like, they've already got snow and it's 85 degrees here, but I told them, in Houston, you never know if you're going to need a coat or sandals for Halloween. Or actually this year, it looks like we're going to get rain, which we haven't had in like 2.5 months. And it's going to pick the one day all the kids want to rain, but it'll be fun. Anyway, why don't y'all introduce yourselves and kind of tell us, just high level what you guys do.
Ruchi, do you want to go first?
Brandon.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully my internet's okay.
Yeah.
But, Brandon Ambrose, founder and CEO of Easy Ops. And then Easy Ops just recently was acquired by Detection. So strategic advisor to Detection. Yeah.
Very cool.
Awesome. Yeah. So typical for Canadians, right? Fighting over who can go first.
Being too polite.
Hi, I am Ruchita Rosario, and I'm originally from India, moved to Canada 7 years ago, and 4 of those I've spent with Easy Ops, now a detection company. And I started as a lead data scientist, and I'm currently the data science supervisor. So anything and everything that we collect from the field data capture goes to my team, and then we sit together and talk about gaps in the industry and the products that we can put forward to meet those and mitigate those gaps.
Awesome. No, excited to have you guys here. Again, I guess I was saying before when Tim was with us that I was familiar with Detection, but I think now, seeing as you guys were acquired as part of that, I don't think I was actually tuned into this side of the business. So definitely interested to hear what Easy Ops is and just kind of how it started, and then we can probably get into the technical bits of it. But I don't know if Brandon or Ruchita wants to dive into that, but
yeah, for sure. Easy Ops is an augmented intelligence platform for blue collar workers. So basically consolidating data, overlaying with machine intelligence, and then interfacing with blue collar workers so they can increase their performance when they're out in the field. On a high level, that's what Easy Ops is.
How did you come up with the idea, the company, the product, so to speak?
So my first business was a company called Reliance Production Optimization. So it's an asset management company up here in Western Canada. We're boots on the ground, managing the oil and gas assets, and just kind of had a unique eye for understanding the lifting cost, understanding the production, and also pulling the wrenches. So just having that business sense on the front line. And I was looking to scale that services business, but it was really difficult to transplant my brain into the team and scale that. And that's when the idea of kind of Easy Ops, if we had everything all digitized, get the right information at the right time, in front of the right people. That's kind of where it came from, was to internally for my services business, but then realized I could have more of an impact in the oil and gas space, licensing software opposed to selling services.
What were the main challenges and problems you were trying to overcome or that you faced in the field? I can absolutely relate with the field data capture side of things, because that's, I think, the vein of most people's existence that work on any of the services side of the business.
Yeah, it was super cool once we got Ruchi on the team, and we were able to actually start quantifying some of these pain points that we were physically experiencing. But field teams, they're in control of just a ton of different variables, whether it's, do I adjust chemical rates, what wells are down, which which liquid production's down? Do I need to inspect things, send pigs, preventative maintenance? Kind of there's a barrage of different things in a large geographic area. So the challenge was, first of all, for field people understanding how they should prioritize things, and then acting on that. I can dive into more into that if you.
No, I think that's a good starting point, because I think that's, Bobby and I both have worked quite a bit on the data side, ingesting field data or data from the field or data from sensors in the field and all of that stuff. And, people think it's as simple as throwing a gauge or a sensor out there and then just pushing the data, but it's definitely not nearly that easy. It's not nearly that easy to even just get buy-in to try and go do those projects. But even if you do have the raw data, the big thing with the field is you don't have any of the context, right? And so I think what you guys do, the efforts that people have been putting around contextualizing field data have come up because people finally realized that, hey, we've got this data, but we don't really know what to do with it or how to use it. Or if we had this other piece of data in conjunction with it, it would be a lot more useful.
Yeah. No, yeah,
So
add to that point is everyone wants to run a green operation now, all of the producers. And I feel like it's 2024. Everyone has also realized the power of digitization and data, and all of that onus is coming on the operators. It's just so much data points in such disparate places, and they're asked to digitize their records. So now they move from pen, paper, Excel into a software like us, a field data capture platform like us. And then there is also that component of, now that you're putting in data in the system, you also at the start of your day have to make sense of it, let alone the extreme conditions that you're working in and the fact that you're overworked. And also, meanwhile, make sure that you run a cost efficient operation, and yes, it should also be green. There is just so many moving parts that eventually boil down to a frontline worker's decision on what best performance is.
Yeah, well, and then the real tricky part is making sure that however you capture that stuff and whatever that workflow is, isn't interrupting or, causing the guys in the field who actually use it and who are actually inputting the information more of a headache than it's worth, without using it. And so I think that, there's a ton of companies that have come and gone, but I think that's one of the big things that kind of shows the test of time with these companies is the ones that get that right stay around and are, have longevity to them. And so I'm very curious how y'all kind of approach that, because, putting an app out there and hoping that people use it is very different than having every single, pumper, field tech, whoever, using the same service, the same systems, the same processes every single time, and doing it consistently and all of the time, and not just saying, well, that's cool, but it takes 5 extra minutes, so I'm not going to do it because I don't have 5 extra minutes. So I'm curious how y'all approach that, how y'all were able to kind of, achieve that.
Yeah, some fun numbers. So there's about 55,000 operators or pumpers in North America. And on average, they're in control of around $8.5 million a year. So like 7 million of that is the commodity that they're pulling out of the ground, and about 1.5 million of that is OpEx that they're spending on behalf of the producer, like in some form. So they're in control of a ton of money. But a lot of them are like me, maybe they have a high school education, and really we're putting the onus on them to be absorbing that data, then synthesizing that data, and then taking action on that data. So there's a lot of opportunity. I don't know, did my internet cut out there?
No, you're fine.
Good.
Like I said, it'll buffer. So even if it looks like it's pixelated on our end or anything like that, the finished product will be fine. No worries.
Beauty. Yeah. So, complex. As soon as Ruchi started looking into this and we started looking at that data, every morning, a typical operator could have like almost 600 million different scenarios of actions that they could be doing. And an operator, as they grow over time, they get an algorithm that they develop in their head as they get more and more experienced on how they should be taking action. So what we needed to do was day one, be able to have people making the best decisions and taking the best action. One thing that we found was really interesting as well, when you interview clients and you ask the question, what does high performance look like to you? You get a barrage of different answers. So it's like people don't even know what good is. And that's what we found
Right.
pretty fascinating. So to us, it's high performance for everyone in a producing company is maximum production, minimum cost while maintaining safety and compliance. So everyone takes these like micro actions to try to drive that. They can be weighted differently based on the producer, but that's what they're striving for. So we're just helping everyone take the best actions.
Right. I think another aspect also is to be able to represent every aspect of their job into a single place, is not having to go to a different place to finish your inspection forms, and then a different platform to maintain your pigging schedules. And then there is a different platform to look at how your production wells are doing. And then there's just so much disparate data there. And that is one of the key points that we try to focus on, is kind of represent every aspect of an operator's life into our platform. Is you truly cannot tell someone that this is the plan that you should follow to be your best without knowing every aspect of their job. And that is something that we are truly always striving towards, is how to incorporate these external data points, be it weather or distance data or road bans, all of these complex ideas into this box that churns out an easy and palatable list, because it's hard already, right?
Yeah. No, tab overload, right? It's like, I think that's such a overlooked kind of, won't call it a piece of innovation, but that's an overlooked kind of area where people are just like, hey, if both of these things lived in the same platform and talked to each other, it would be a lot better. And so there's been a lot of companies, I think, that have become really successful because they're end users at the start, and they recognize, okay, hey, I have to go click through 4 different tabs on my laptop to finish this one job. And if I could put all of those in one, and half the time they all need the same data that I'm repeating the same entry for, which is insane. Also leads to there's human error across all of this stuff, right? And so all those things just compound. But
yeah, I mean, so I think Brandon said probably my favorite AI earlier, which is augmented intelligence. Because I think it's one of those, like, we always hear, like, you have to do more, or people want to do more with less. And I think people are scared of artificial intelligence, like that it's going to take my job, it's going to replace me. But doing more with less isn't necessarily replacing someone. It could be just taking your existing people and making them twice as effective or 3 times as effective, or whatever the multiplier is. And so you're still getting more for the same, which is more with less in that
Correct,
way.
yeah.
As far as the platform goes, is this like where you guys, the one platform to capture all, or are you kind of like a hub that you can pull from like other different systems into Easy Ops and then kind of make it like a single pane of glass for them to look at? I'm just kind of curious, or maybe it's a little bit of both, but.
Yeah, and just to kind of even finish up on John's question there. So I think what differentiates us and why we're went through the test of time and we're still here. I started Reliance, which is my asset management company, in 2007. And then in 2015, that's when we started building Easy Ops. And it was like, it was in the user's hands from 2015 to 2020. And to your point, getting rid of those tabs, getting that feedback, how do we really augment and how do we help people on the front lines? And then between 2020 and 2024, now I think it's 27% of Canadian oil and gas production is utilizing our platform right now. So it's like we've had kind of massive growth, and that was because we're just, we really understand the importance of helping people on the front line. And then that's how you get that adoption. And then you get the field kind of pulling it off the shelves instead of, head office kind of pushing it down. That augmented piece is really important. I kind of, when I'm chatting with the team and I guess when I was leading Easy Ops, I was talking about, in 10 years, robots are going to be doing a ton, especially with some of these, cool stuff that Elon's doing now with Tesla. But between now and then, we need to get people performing at their best. We need to augment them. Back in the day when I started, it was 10 to 15 wells you were managing. Now you're managing 100 to 150. And it's an exponential problem on absorbing that data, synthesizing that data, and then taking the right action. So we're kind of like, the technology is lagging, which should be. The problem exists. People can't perform at their best. And now, we've created that technology to fill that impossible void that they're in, or solve that problem.
Right here. And to Bobby's question, a little bit of both would definitely be the answer. We do try to capture most of their roles and responsibilities, like inspections or maintaining those pig schedules, machine schedules, taking tank readings, pump readings, all of that. But then on top of that, we also then overlay external data. Like we have so many integrations because every producer manages their production information on a different platform. So the idea there truly is to have that one-stop shop where an operator in the morning logs into the product, and these are the 10 key things that you need to do, which are agreed upon, and that clarity flows through from upper management to you on what best performance is. And kind of creating that alignment. I do want to, Brandon and I actually worked on a survey a couple years ago where we looked at the total revenue, I think, or a success metric like that, and correlated it with a survey that we took on how aligned the frontline workers were with the upper management. And we actually found out the more the answers were aligned, the better the company was doing. And that's essentially a gap that we recognized is, I think people are telling the frontline workers to work at their best, but I don't think anyone has defined what best means.
Right. Yeah, if you don't know what the target is, it's hard to work towards it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing, I think the reason why we've been successful is because we started building this back in 2015. Because if you're going to prioritize someone's life, you need to understand every aspect of their life, and that means that we're going to absorb whatever we can get the data. But there's a lot of data that's not digitized, so that's where we needed kind of this broad platform to be able to absorb that currently not digitized data, all of those analog inputs that need to come in. And so that's, it's been a journey, and all of those different modules to have the breadth needs to interact really, really well with the user. So it was certainly a front end loaded project to get an interface to start digitizing the data that we could then start optimizing.
So I know you've got some stuff, obviously, that helps like with the day-to-day and all that, but then like how does capturing all that, does it improve, say, when they want to do like well reviews or stuff for the operators where they want to see like how they performed over the last quarter and all that? Like, does it make it easier for them to kind of have those and kind of have that? Like, do you have any reporting, I guess, tied to that where they can check the last quarter, year to date, all that kind of stuff?
I think the biggest benefit there, like, we don't kind of, we don't want to be the best kind of analytics of well performance, but we want to be able to then, or what we do then, now we have all of those micro actions that have happened to get that end result. So that's kind of where our focus is on the front line. It's with the guys utilizing the tool, and then that can then be leveraged. Why did the well perform better or worse? Now you have all of that micro data to
all
give you
that's being captured daily and so on. So then you have that context to identify, and then you can say this is why his wells are performing better than Joe's. Like 2 routes over. And then like maybe I guess that's where they can learn from each other and say, all right, you're doing something different with chemicals or water than we are, and it's we're improving LOE or whatever it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it is day to day as well on all the aspects that helps in having a platform that is as wide, but it is also futuristic in the sense that all the readings that the operators are collecting in our platform, we also then provide futuristic recommendations on, say, when they
Okay.
should do chemical haulings on based on all the rates that they have provided, that these are the 10 tanks on this field and they're consuming at these many liters per day. And then we recommend the package that needs to go out in, say, 15 days from now based on the data that they have provided. So it's also day to day, but future looking as well.
Okay, great.
What are some of the, well, I've got two questions. The first one, because there's a lot of people in the field, in the oil field, right? And there's a lot of low hanging fruit or just operation things that could be digitized, or someone has an idea for an app that, is targeted at field personnel. What is y'all's advice to, other entrepreneurs, other people that are out there building software that has that field element to it? And what's your advice around, how to do that properly? Because I think we've all seen companies that have a really shiny, cool looking thing, but then once it actually gets deployed, it never gets adopted. It's deployed from the top down, normally from management, because they're trying to do something. The field folks typically don't have any idea, or maybe not even any input on any of that stuff, and then they're just kind of left with it. What are some of the lessons learned that you guys have from building, field facing specifically?
Yeah, well, I think you nailed it. It's the adoption on the front end. So if you're not helping the person that needs to use it every day, they're going to throw it in the bush, and you won't get any feedback. You won't even get constructive feedback to be able to tweak. Like, you need to be going in with the solid intentions. Like, I'm here to help. I understand that you're put in an impossible situation, and we want to make your life better. And as a byproduct, we're going to help your boss, and we're going to help your company. So first is, how do we make you look the best way possible? And yeah, so just kind of simply that direction. That's what we've kind of found worked.
You said simply, but I think that is just an underappreciated thing. What you just said is, if you can make the end user a champion, look better, perform better, make their life easier, like, you have to think of the root user. Even if management wants whatever algorithm or thing in the background, if the root user isn't improving it's not shaving time off of their stuff, if it's not getting them home earlier to their kids, they're probably not going to use it. Like, especially if it is adding to their existing workflow or taking time away from what they're already doing, that's where apps go to die, right? So
Yeah.
I completely agree with you.
And
When we
there's a
were
few ways.
building ours, go ahead, Brandon.
Go ahead, Ruchi.
I was just going to say that when we were building our North Star on what we want to do or where we want this product to take, we had 3 pillars, and one was monetary savings, another one was time savings, and the third and key pillar was peace of mind, is integrating this software into the system. How much peace of mind is created by making sure that you have logged everything properly on what you do. And when there is that turnover day, does my cross shift have all the information required to do their jobs successfully? So peace of mind has always been such a key pillar into kind of trying to gamify these product changes.
Absolutely. And then just to
I didn't
build on
think about
that,
that from a handoff standpoint from one pumper to the next, like when they're working shifts, just keeping some consistency all the way through is super important as well.
one thing
Instead of
that I
handing off
found
notebooks.
one thing I found in the field is that there's because everything's so dispersed across large geographic areas, there's kind of some pumpers or operators that pull all the weight, and then there's some guys that just they just fly on the next shift, and so it goes really good for one shift, it kind of carries the next shift. And so to helping the frontline person, this creates that transparency of, hey, this one's really doing really, really well, and this person is not really doing that well. So you'll find that the good operators really want it, because it then shows that they're actually doing, pulling all the weight for the team. And then whereas maybe the not quite as good don't really want it. And then it kind of helps for even, hiring and firing and stuff like that to weed out some of the less, not the strong ones.
So if we take this a little bit different direction, because I like to get into the weeds a little bit on the technical side. So when you started this in 2015, Brandon, was this mobile first, or was this like a web app first that, and then just kind of like cloud, on-prem, just kind of some of those design decisions, just kind of curious there.
Yeah, we needed to have offline capabilities. So we ended up building a progressive web app kind of for early on so that we could be iterating faster. Nice. And then I think initially we were just using servers. We had to migrate to the cloud. I think we did that in like 2018 or something like that. But but
what was the decision point there? What did you run up on that you decided you want to move to the cloud? Because like obviously cloud versus on-prem is a never-ending debate.
Yeah, it's just the future, scalability, multi-tenanted environments that we just need to have be on the cloud.
Nice. Yeah. So for people who don't know what a progressive web app is, but I don't think we've had that come up yet. Can you explain? Or I mean, I can get into a little bit, but
yeah, feel free to jump in. I am not the tech guy. Early on, hired the technical people, but
yeah, like a progressive web app. And again, I'll probably butcher it if someone actually really knows what they're talking about. Heard me talking about it, but essentially, it's like I think people probably have seen it. I think Starbucks had it at one point too, but it's like basically you can go to the website and it's mobile. It's a web app, but then I think there's even some buttons and you can actually kind of save it as an app like on your computer or your phone, right? It's like it would look and feel like an app, but it's actually running through the browser kind of in some ways. So, but again, to your point, that it still has some of that similar functionality where it can be offline capability and yeah, it's kind of an in between thing, but I think you can write a web app, but it works as a mobile app almost. So
yeah, that's right. And then you can publish. We could iterate way faster. You're not waiting for Apple or.
I'm glad you pointed that out because people don't. It's something you don't know what you don't know, and as someone who we've had out as an app, I think for almost a year now, and it's like. You can have everything buttoned up from a technical perspective, and then you submit it to the App Store, and then Apple says no, it is missing this one very ambiguous thing, and you're like, well, I don't even know, and it's all automated now, which I've found. They have some kind of bot that goes and does some kind of random tests on the platform automatically. We saw it through our traffic, and then they just send you an automated message that says you need to add this or that, but it's just like the most ambiguous and vague thing in the world. I waited like a week one time, had to get on the phone with someone in Cupertino to talk through. I don't even remember what it was, but we had to have a specific flagging feature for users or something like that. And it's just like you really realize how much control Microsoft and Apple have of the digital space on the app side when you have to go. Everything has to go through the stupid App Store. But I also want to point out, everybody who thinks Bobby did a terrible job of explaining that, please go tell him about it in the comments, because I know he would love to read those later. So
I would probably learn something. So
yeah, educate us, please. So what did that original stack look like? Did you have any kind of what were your decisions going through about what front end to use, which database, what back end, all that fun stuff?
Yeah, I guess all I can tell you is just hiring good people. So the chief product officer was also our CTO at the time. So you just promised me this is what we need to do, and this is going to work well. So I just trusted him. So I wouldn't even have you good answers for you, unless Ruchi, you want to jump in on some of the early day thoughts. But it's all different now.
No, I am not sure if I will be.
Okay.
If I will justify the devs, and I will have a hard time later in our meetings. We do some PHP, some React, a lot of Spring Boot, Java, depending on what kind of solver we want to be using. And then any language that supports that. Yeah, we have an extensive team now that kind of does those researches, and we are also in the middle of moving and transitioning into a more stable code base. Now with our recent acquisition, we definitely have more resources now to kind of look at the bigger picture and see what is the best path moving forward for these mobility solutions.
Awesome. Yeah, so it sounds like almost if you have all these different kind of things going on, potentially it might even be like more of a microservices thing set up where you're using the best tool for the job on certain parts of the app. But again, I don't want to push you guys too hard, if you're not the most technical, people on the team, although Ruchi sounds like you're a data scientist. So, all right, so let's get into that maybe. What does that look like being a data scientist, versus a developer at a company like that? Like, are you helping like prototype certain algorithms and then like they're productionizing them within the platform, or I'm just kind of curious how that works?
No, yeah, that would be accurate. I do a lot of data visualization and analysis into Sigma and Power BI, and I through Sigma I have Snowflake connectivity. So if I need the quickest way of kind of querying the data and seeing how it is spread out and doing some early analysis, then I use that. Generally, the way the workflow works is that a couple of the product team gets together and we kind of hatch out a pseudo code that is done through testing. I generally test on a Jupyter notebook in Python, and the intention there truly is not scalability. It is to see if we kind of come with an algorithm, decide the weights, the heuristics that should go into it, and then based on a fixed set of input, we generate an output. We then go back to some of our champion operators who help us look at that data and verify, almost like a reinforcement learning model, but a manual one. And then we verify if we need to adjust those weights or adjust some conditions on there. And once that cycle is solidified, then we create a Jira ticket that goes off to the dev team. And then there is those technical decisions on what is the best way of implementing these.
Okay, sweet. So you get to kind of recite, that's pretty cool to talk about that life cycle of how you are, getting that information from the field and like utilizing the data you already have to amplify the platform further.
Correct. Yeah. Especially because so much of this is R&D and gamifying every action. How does it affect our KPIs? It's a lot of research and a lot of subjective information which then translates into a line of code. So the early pieces of brainstorming is done in Python, super scrappy format. Let's get to the answer first and see if we're happy with it. And then it goes through how do we now make it scalable for 40 clients?
Nice. Okay, so go ahead, John.
No, I was just going to say, I appreciate the shit out of people that, like, people, especially with new development, new products, new stuff, I included, you can get caught up in like over analyzing how to perfectly architect it or all of this stuff ahead of time. But some of the best, like Colin pushes us, and I need that to do stuff faster, to go and prototype, to go and test. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be 99% accurate. Just go into Collab, go into a Jupyter notebook. It doesn't matter, and start testing. But you'll get to a point where taking it from that to production, like, you can iterate so much faster in those notebooks or in these small scale things that you can come up with so much more so quickly than if you were going to sit and have, like, I'm sitting at a giant conference table behind me. I was going to have this whole conference table full of all of our devs and all of our architects and all of our data science folks. And then you're going to architect it on a whiteboard. It's like, even if you architect it out, you don't know if all of those libraries work together or if there's an update to that library that makes it incompatible. Like, there's all these
so many
things
factors
that would pop up once you started to productionize it, that if you just by doing the prototypes and stuff, like, I'm very bullish on just that concept of, like, prototype quick and fast and dirty, and it doesn't have to be, the end result is going to be different, and that's okay. You might have to redo it multiple times. That's going to happen. But with the speed at which you can do stuff with these basic tools, I think it's overlooked a lot.
Yeah. Our senior product manager now, who was our CTO then, Nick, always says, fail fast, learn fast. Mm-hmm. And that has constantly been our strategy. Yeah.
That's cool.
So you mentioned a couple tools there. It sounds like you guys are using Snowflake on the analytics side. Is that something, are you guys replicating from your product stack into there so you can do analytics against it? And then on top of that, it sounds like you're using Sigma. And we may or may not have brought up Sigma in one of our previous episodes, but could you speak about Sigma? I'm fairly familiar with what it does, but I'd like to hear from the horse's mouth, someone who's using it, kind of what it is and what it does, and just kind of that whole Snowflake analytics, side of Easy Ops.
Right. So most of our backend historical data, and it is truly, we now are a combination of 4 products, I think. Easy Ops itself, we welcome 2 products onboarded, and now we are a detection company. So we truly have like a wide range of products. So most of the historical data is hosted into Snowflake through different server buckets. And then the people from the BI team then get access to these queries or that data. And Sigma truly is the plug and play version of Power BI. Super easy to create that first level view, super easy to set up something, embed something, super easy to export something. It's almost, when you do build a table in there, all of those operations look very similar to Excel. So they put, I believe, the UI and the ease of the product in front and center. Of course, Power BI does have that benefit of being a legacy platform that has been up and running for 15 years. So the network on that is extensive, but I believe that Sigma is focusing on how to ease those analysis, and it's plug and play. Like you can very easily connect a database, create a bar chart, look at an outlier.
Yeah, so I think you hit it on the head, especially on the Excel side, which is what I think Sigma is going for. Is it's a spreadsheet like interface on top of Snowflake. I don't know if it can connect to other like data warehouses like BigQuery, but I know they're for sure on Snowflake.
Yeah.
But like for someone like John, you can write an Excel formula type formula within the platform, and everything compiles down to Snowflake code, behind the scenes, and it's running everything against Snowflake and super fast because I think you can run Sigma within Snowflake, like their marketplace now too, where it's almost like right on top of it in the same server room. So, reducing latency and all that stuff. But it's definitely an up and coming platform I've heard a lot of people utilizing. I know a lot of accounting departments love it because of the Excel component, where the accountants love their Excel and their pivot tables, so they feel right at home.
Correct, yeah. I mean, I shouldn't have to write a 20-line code to find an average of a column, right? And that's what a lot of these legacy platforms, it's so complicated to do a simple thing, and I think Sigma is trying to eliminate that. That being said, pros and cons for sure, like every platform has.
Yeah.
No, but you're right. Just the ease of the user side of it is important. I mean, I was talking to Bobby yesterday about trying to extract this one field from this really weird, I think it's like a select list that's in a CSV. And, I was doing it in R, and like, I like R. It's very straightforward and easy to use, but it's like, I've got to go write a code. I've got to go write, a full script in order to do some very basic things, because that's how it is, instead of just like, oh, I could just pull this into Excel and click a button and then it'd be done. But it doesn't codify it, right? So. All right, am I back?
Sorry, I think, are we good? I think I lost someone for
I cut out.
I think.
I could. Okay. We're good.
Okay, so all right, so like now let's get into that. So obviously you guys, there's data being replicated to Snowflake, and maybe this is a good part of talking about like how do you share data from the platform? I'm sure companies want to be able to take data out of Easy Ops and then pull it into their analytics platform. So are you able to share data using Snowflake data shares, or do you expose APIs? I'm just curious like how you all share data with your customers.
Yeah, you said it right there. We have a data share policy of where we can create specific views or calculations that a client like, and then they have access to it through data share. We also do some automatic exports as well. If there is a certain accounting team or a certain band of leadership that likes some KPIs, like the total tickets created or the total inspections that failed in the month of September, then we also do those automated exports that go at a regular cadence. So they can get access to the backend data as well, but we do also build reports embedded into our platform just to support our vision of let's keep everything in one place and kind of ease that access of information.
Awesome. So,
I'm curious.
Brandon, oh, go ahead, John.
No, I was just gonna ask about kind of the buzzword AIML stuff. As one, just like what does that look like under the hood for you guys? Like what kind of general things are y'all looking at, aggregating over, windowing, all of that fun stuff? And then the second part of that is, what are some of the like really do you have any interesting kind of use cases or like wins that you guys have had over the years where it's like the simplest, it could be the simplest little thing, but because they started tracking it, they're like, oh, we didn't know that. And then it just completely changed something or provided a bunch of value to them.
Yeah, no, I can definitely speak to the AI aspect. It truly is a buzzword. 10 years ago, when I was trying to get into my majors for my master's, it was the new word then, and things have changed so much. Everyone is talking about AI. Everyone has ChatGPT at the tip of their fingers. But we truly do try to take a step back and see if it truly is required to implement something sophisticated, or if the pain point truly is to get someone to collect all the data together and apply the simple heuristic and present information in an easy to read format. So we do have two parts of data science components that we have live. One uses a heuristic model, which essentially is a thumb of rule business constraints that we already know. Like Brandon already has so much information in his brain about what the ideal window is to complete an inspection, or if I have to pick between an overdue pigging event or an overdue inspection event, which one is given a higher priority. So we try to kind of take all of these rules and compile them into these heuristics. So the operator optimization aspect of our product is based on the heuristic model, which is not a sophisticated AI model. It essentially, what you said, John, is getting information together and applying those business constraints and then applying routing on top of it to make sure that there is also GHG reductions. And the second aspect where we do chemical trucking optimization, that actually uses an optimization software called OptoPlanner, which is really good, where you define a universe for OptoPlanner. In our case, it is tanks, the tank rates, where these tanks are situated. And our hard constraints are, please don't let any tank run out, because if a tank runs out, then it's not pumping methanol in the pipeline and the pipeline is freezing. So we kind of set all these do's and don'ts into the system, and it will come out with a plan to optimize cost per load. So those kinds of things, heuristic modeling and OptoPlanner based optimization is where the product currently is at. And I think I will defer to Brandon for sure to share some exciting wins. I'm sure he has had many.
Yeah. One thing that we found, and actually I'd almost throw this back on you because I'm a little bit rusty on the numbers, but I think it was something like 50 or 60% increase in performance when you augment people with operator optimization. So it was super cool. We knew that it would be valuable. We knew that they're in an impossible situation. We knew that they couldn't possibly synthesize all of these different pieces, but actually seeing the outputs of the optimization, super cool. I don't know if you have those handy, Ruchi, but that's always gets me excited when the vision actually works and you're helping people.
it's just one of those things you don't know, like as the end user, you have this idea, right? And you're like, I know that this is valuable because I spend so much time doing this, or because it leads to so much error on this, or so much rework, or whatever. But until you it's that chicken and egg thing, right? Like, I need the money to go prove to you that it's going to work. But then, of course, they don't want to spend the money until you can prove to them that it's going to work, or eliminate costs, or increase or reduce downtime, all of those fun things. And so it's even that, right? Like, I think that's one of the reasons I asked that question, is because I knew it was going to be some very simple thing, but very impactful at the same time, because there's just so much, there's still so much of that opportunity in this industry where it's like what you said, Ruchita, it doesn't always need to be AI or ML. Like, if it's just a basic nested if statement and it works, then that's all you need, right? Like, it doesn't, we don't always have to use the sexiest thing. You need to use the most robust thing given the conditions. So that's really cool to hear y'all say that.
Cost benefit analysis is what we always say is, how long is this going to take to implement, and how much are we actually impacting the users by doing this really sophisticated model that will probably take 3 months to even clean the data. And then the implementation and the scalability. And before you know, someone else has done it.
Well, that doesn't generalize. Like, you could train an AI model and it works, in this part of the Montney, but then you take it over to somewhere else and it doesn't hold water. So it's just kind of, again, you could put, to your point, you can pour a lot of effort in and it still doesn't give a robust answer.
Yeah, the 80-20 rule. Works for everything.
Yeah, always. Pareto principle, it just comes back all the time. So I kind of brought up Montney or whatever. So Brandon, you said you guys have about 27% of the Canadian market. Are you specifically in Canada currently, or did you guys break into the US yet, or is that part of this detection, merger as well? Maybe expanding that footprint.
Yeah, that's part of the detection piece, and happy to dive into even the logic of why we ended up there. But Easy Ops before detection was just in Canada. We're basically bootstrapped, raised a bit of money, but bootstrapped. So just really cost effective and when expanding.
Congrats on that, by the way.
That's no small task.
No, bootstrapping is very hard. And then it's, of course, always against the trend, right? Everyone sees all the sexy VC and private equity money flowing around, and then they think they need that. And most companies, in my opinion, don't. And there's all kinds of worms and follies that come with that as well. But I wanted to ask in that line, who is y'all's target kind of user? Is it midstream, upstream, downstream? Is it all of the above? Does it matter? As long as you have an asset, it's going to need maintenance. It's going to need people, that people work on. What's the kind of target user historically, and then also kind of moving forward with this, with a new merger acquisition?
Yeah, you bet. So typically it's upstream because it has complex operations over large geographic areas with human decision making. So it's that needs to be augmented. That's where we get the best bang for our buck. But we also get it pulled off the shelves as well for the midstreamers. They still need to manage their PMs, and they still need to, it's just in a smaller, same problems, just smaller geography. So it doesn't have quite the exponential problem, but it's still a problem that's there. And then, just building on that. So with the reason why we, when I was looking out into the future, there's going to be winners and losers in the space in 5 years. So I want to make sure that Easy Ops was a winner. So looking for the best partner to make sure that we would be successful. So looking for partners that had the cash to expand into the correct geographic areas and to invest into the team to solve some of these more complex problems to get beyond the 80-20 rule. And then also complementary products. So in the oil and gas space, it's pretty difficult to get data sharing. You have to have agreements in place and fucking this and that. And so having everything under one umbrella allows for one MSA, and now you can transfer the data and you can actually solve some of these problems. Whereas if you had lots of other companies out there now, you just have too many roadblocks to share the data and get the results you're looking for. So we wanted to find a partner that had a complementary product. And then also, I think I mentioned before we hopped on here, I dropped out of high school. I don't think I'm the right guy to, take over the world with augmented intelligence for blue collar workers. So to me, it was really important to find a partner that had an awesome leadership team that could, take this and had a very similar vision. So that's what I found with Detechtion, and that's why it looked like it would be a really good fit. But yeah, what Detechtion does on the compression side of things, it's funny actually. I used Detechtion back in 2019 with 2012 with a producer, and wasn't that keen on the interface of the frontline worker of it. But now, they've done a lot of work in there, and they know how to integrate with the frontline team. So we're pulling that data in through, whether it's SCADA systems or field data capture, and having compressors run at their best is one of the most important things you can do. When I look at a field holistically, you want to have your plant inlet pressure as low as possible, so that your gathering system is low as possible, that your tubing and surface facility pressure is low as possible, and then your reservoir, you're going to get the most production. You're out of the hydrate curve. Like having your compressors running properly there's so many valuable pieces to that. Obviously, it's the increase in production, but then your OPEX is dropping significantly per BOE. And so I really understood the synergies there and how valuable our data would be to them, and also their insights back to the frontline teams. So that's what we're working on now, is being able to push that data, those insights back to the front line, so that they can take the right actions. Looks like we have bad valve, or volume pockets need to be adjusted, or things like that.
It's cool that y'all found a complementary partner like that, and it wasn't like I'm a competitor, I'm just going to come buy you out and shelve you because I don't like competing with you. That's I hope the industry continues to have mergers and partnerships and stuff like that, where we start unsiloing all of this data and realizing that, hey, everybody's better if we share this data together. And
rising tide lifts all boats.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, and to that end, Detechtion, like you said, you used it in 2012, but they've been around 20 plus years at least, right? Too, so they've got some staying power.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, their market share is
stronghold. So.
Yeah, they're global. They have a presence, Australia, North America. I think even in Europe as well. Good land and expand strategy, and good diverse insights on the oil and gas market. So that even really helps from a product perspective. So that when you do build something, it's scalable to the entire world. There might be small adjustments, but at least you have the insights from the difference from the Middle East to the Montney to the Bakken.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess the whole world is kind of a big geographical area then, right? Like for easy ops to scale.
Got lots of room for opportunity there. I wanted to ask about the gamification part that you touched on, because I think we're actually working on gamification for Collide right now, but I think it's a very overlooked thing in our industry, even though the benefits of it are, you can look up a number of case studies across every industry basically, and you can see the benefits of it. But I think that's something that our industry has been slow to kind of adopt for whatever reason. So I'm curious what was the idea behind that? Was that something y'all started with, or is that something y'all kind of added over time? And then two, what kind of, performance or benefits have you seen from it? I love that intersection of like human nature and technology, where it's like humans are generally competitive, right? So you throw a leaderboard up for, all the pumpers in a region, and now they're instantly incentivized just because their human nature wants to be to move up the list or whatever. And so it's just, it's so simple, but you can also do it very poorly. It takes a lot of nuance and stuff. So I'm very curious about that.
Yeah, maybe I'll just dive on a little bit of vision stuff. One thing that I always thought forever is that people should be compensated based on the value they bring to an organization. I think that there's lots of people that get compensated too much for and everyone brings value in different ways. It doesn't necessarily need to be a monetary, like it's a team, but that's the complexity of compensating people based on the value they bring to an organization, because there's tons of different ways. But I really think that the current system of paying people per hour to do X, Y, and Z is really archaic. Whereas I kind of see in the future, people should be paid based on the value they bring to an organization. And with platform like EasyOps, where you can actually see what needs to be done and what has been done and the end outcome of that, you should be able to start actually integrating compensation. So when my team at Reliance utilizes EasyOps, there's a pretty heavy bonus structure that's tied into the usage and the value that's being generated in the back end. And it's still kind of in its infancy, but it does tie to that gamification component. And then, that reward performance management, I guess.
Right.
But maybe I'll throw over to you, Ruchi, on like the true gamification.
Right, yeah. And in terms of data science itself, you cannot truly define a problem without defining what clear performance is or what goals are. It's essentially like having a target variable, Y, as we call it in the industry. And it is so hard to correlate all of these different aspects of an operator's life to the KPIs directly. If I do miss a pig that is to be sent daily today, how many decks of production am I losing? There is no clear answer of that, especially because the impact is not instant. The impact is delayed, and the impact is not quantified for all of these different events. And when you do actually take a holistic view on a problem like that, your step one is identifying what is the impact of every action that you're doing on what your goals are. And our goals were maximizing production, reducing operational expenditure, and kind of leaving the field in a safe state. So we needed to correlate every input and every aspect that we considered to back and tie those back to our KPIs. And what better than numbers?
Yeah, no, I agree. I also think you're spot on, Brandon. I think like there's the whole Web3 kind of movement or whatever, but the root of that is returning control to the creator, essentially, to the person that's actually doing the work. And I think that is absolutely going to happen, especially all the way, in industries like this where you have so many hourly or contract type workers and things like that. And it's like, well, it's not just commoditized on the price. Like your price should be dictated by your performance. And we also know, how long it should take to do these things. And so it's not just, okay, well, you get paid by the hour. You worked 8 hours today. Here's your money for the 8 hours. It's, you impacted the business X percent. Therefore, you get some percentage of that impact directly as an incentive to keep making the business better. And to do, we're also talking, especially with the last, 5-10 years, this lower for longer oil price, commodity price cycle, they want to do as much as they possibly can with as few people as they can. And so I think things like that also line up perfectly with that concept. So that's really, really interesting. I think that's I wholeheartedly think way more software companies in our industry should be looking at gamification, and regardless of, what it is, it's just way more engaging and a better user experience in most cases.
Well, because what we heard similar with Ryan Rice with ResNet.ai, and I think, and again, that the genesis of that was back to what Rice Energy or Rice Petroleum, whatever it was, and then I'm pretty sure Toby and them are using it over at EQT, but where they start off with Salesforce, and I think, like, again, Brandon, like you said earlier, this platform is targeted at blue collar workers, and I think they are incentivized by money, but I think a lot of them are also incentivized by knowing that they did a good job and a job well done. They worked hard, and then when they go home, they want to know that what they did was impactful. So I think when you get that feedback loop, and I think it's just important for probably morale out there, because otherwise they could just be out there, just like you said, turning wrenches, doing all these things. It's like, all right, I guess that mattered. I don't know. I think just having that direction, and again, I think like you said, that some of that can flow from the top, like what good looks like or what winning looks like. So.
Well, it's also one of those things too, where it's like when Bill and Bubba go get drinks at the bar that night, Bill's going to talk shit to Bubba because he's higher on the leaderboard than him, and that's probably going to incentivize Bubba to do more, right? Like there's this internal psychology that happens from it that's just so fascinating to me, because at the end of the day, like all the stuff we're doing ultimately gets put into the hands of an individual, and it's up to them to use it as effectively as possible, use it as much or as little as they want, right? And so having these little psychological, I don't want to call them tricks, but triggers maybe is the right word, to just incentivize people to be competitive, right? Like competition tends to work really well most of the time.
Yeah, early on, we actually had a performance management coach involved in the product, actually. So we had got him to come in, behavioral scientist, to kind of run in like, what do we need to be considering here to be driving performance? So that's always kind of been on the helping guide our vision. Worker happiness is huge, and it helps with retention, and that compounds on itself from corporate performance as well. When you can keep your retention, team members, and when you do expand, not needing to hire as many people, now you have less lines of communication because you don't have as many people involved, which is a good thing. Allows for more streamlined communication. You can do more with less.
Sweet. John, you got anything more? You want to jump into the speed round, or?
Yeah, let's jump into the speed round. I think, I could talk all day about a lot of this stuff, so it's not a problem. I think I'm gonna ask Brandon Canada specific questions for the speed round. It should be fun. What's your favorite Canadian sports team, Brandon?
If I didn't say the Oilers, my wife would kill me, but I'm not a hockey dude. But she loves hockey, and being in Alberta, northern Alberta, you have no choice. It's Oilers. Yeah. But there is some rivalry. We have with Easy Ups. I think actually our Calgary team was larger than our Edmonton team. So I definitely kept my thoughts to myself, but there was a little bit of rivalry there.
Ruchita, what's your favorite open source library or analytics library or tool? I'll try and keep it broad. I've asked. I don't want it to be too specific because that's really hard to pick most of the time.
Yeah, I swear by scikit-learn. They have everything you need under the umbrella to just get started. Just build a tiny predictive model to predict if an image is a cat or dog, to doing something real with healthcare data. You can actually truly get started, and that's why I love Jupyter Notebook. Is you can get your hands dirty. Just have a 10-line CSV in there and start learning.
Yeah, no, 100%.
There's so much that's just so easily available now, right? Like you made me think of OLLAMA when you were talking about that just now. But like OLLAMA is just it's an open source tool that lets me deploy local language models on my computer. But the OLLAMA install is literally 2 lines, and then to start it, it's OLLAMA, whatever the model name is, enter, and then I've got a language model deployed on my laptop instantly. And it's like, This is nuts. Like, this is crazy how simple some of these things have become.
Yeah, I agree.
What you got, Bobs?
I don't know. If we're going to go Canada specific for Brandon, what do you like better, Tim Hortons or ketchup flavored potato chips? Or neither.
Impossible situation. Yeah, our chips are pretty good up here, but I'm not actually much of a ketchup chip guy, and I'm actually no longer much of a Tim Hortons guy either. So,
if I was gonna come up to Alberta, where should I go?
There you go. That's a good question.
Where should he go? Oh yeah, the Rockies for sure. I think you guys checked out Canmore when you were here, but just keep going on in there.
John and I did.
Alpine hiking. Like as soon as you get above the tree line in the Rockies, it's just gorgeous. So whenever you get the chance to get some long hikes in, it's good.
It's like, hey, it reminds me of video games. Literally, like you're just driving down the highway and you're like, holy shit, like, where am I? It's beautiful.
All right, and then Ruchi, what's your, well, I think you mentioned it before, but and you can answer with that or not. But like, what's your favorite podcast or book that you read lately?
I like Bad Friends a lot. For podcast, it's because it's just two people talking absolute garbage, and after a long day of work, that's exactly what I need.
Yeah, you don't need to turn your brain off a little bit, but just kind of let it go where it takes you.
I'm right there with you. Bravo is my outlet for that with my wife every night. We watch some stupid housewife show or
Vanderpump or
yeah.
I think we're on Love is Blind now. Yeah.
We just finished Love is Blind. What a fun one.
Cannot get better than that. Peak entertainment.
Yeah. Oh man. One more. Actually, I'll pivot. Brandon, what's a either good book or podcast or follow somebody that you like that you would recommend for someone either that you would recommend for someone that's looking at either starting a business, running a business, building a business?
Yeah, you bet. I'm pretty sure everyone kind of listens to the All In podcast already, but that's a good one. And then one thing that I guess was the most impactful for me is Patrick Lencioni. Just creating a healthy organization, the advantage or the ideal team player. Like just the culture that we created was what allowed us to kind of do what we did, and with an efficient team. So yeah, it's just having a healthy organization and making sure you have aligned values. But yeah, those are the biggest things. And then from a product perspective, like Marty Kagan and Silicon Valley product group and stuff.
Yeah, no, Lencioni's good. We've read a few of those, right, John, at RDS?
Yeah.
Like, think 5 Dysfunctions of a Team and Death by Meeting and some of those. So, yeah, he hasn't just written the book, he's written a few.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're all really good. I'm right there with you on the culture side. I think people overlook culture as far as like keys to success for startups or companies as a whole, but culture plays a huge part in so much of it.
Yeah, we had a really rigorous hiring process that we didn't care about credentials kind of at all. Like the first things first is it was I don't think anyone knew it at the time, but it was a 15-minute quick connect, and really it was does these people have the same values as us, or is there any anti-values? And it's just like this very simple binary yes or no, and we were just like hunting out no's, and if there was no no's, then it kind of got kicked into the technical side to make sure that they could complete. But a lot of great interviews I've left and feeling like, man, if there was a war, I'd want to be in the war with this person, so that's a great person to bring on the team. And that's another thing why we were successful, I think, was just that gut intuition, which was alignment of values. And then just protecting that in the team.
Yeah, Colin made a post. We're trying to hire a Ruby on Rails dev here in Houston. He made a post earlier this week. Just it's like the salary. I want a badass coder that is gonna we've got equity, all this stuff, but I need someone that's willing to dedicate extra time and all this stuff. And there was all kinds of comments on it and stuff. And one of them was something to the effect of, well, it sounds like you're cutting out a lot of potential candidates just by doing it for them only being Houston based. And Colin was like, our goal is to cut as many people as possible. Like, we're not looking for a general person. We're looking for the best fit for this very specific thing. And I think that's like how you said it is a really good way to kind of talk about it. Is you're not necessarily, you don't want anybody, you want the right fit, right? And so you are actually culling. The idea should be to cut as many people as you can to get to the ideal candidate, not find a bunch of people and then try and figure out if they fit or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got one more, Bobs?
I asked Brandon where I go if I went to Alberta. Ruchi, where would I go if I go to Toronto? What's the best thing? What would you recommend?
I mean, Toronto truly is a melting pot. So if I were to recommend, it's definitely going to be a food place. I really like Thai cuisine. So Pai is one of my favorite places to eat. Yeah, there's a lot of good Asian spots, but Thai is my all-time favorite.
All right. Well,
we're going to take you to some Thai food when you come down to Houston, because we have a ton of really good Thai food down here too. The real question is, do you get it Thai hot or do you get it normal hot?
It's been 7 years, so I have been whitewashed. So I get it. Yeah, so no Thai hot for me, no.
A guy Bobby and I used to work with would take us to this like hole in the wall. It was a Thai grocery store that had just like
Thai?
just had a Thai restaurant inside of it, and he would get the hottest. And they would like ask him, because he's just like, this white guy from South Texas, like has no business ordering this. And they ask him multiple times, "Are you sure?" He's like, "Yeah." And he's, sweating and crying and stuff. And I'm like, I have no desire to go that hot. I don't understand how people eat stuff that hot. That's another level of hot for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm not tasting food at that point. My tongue is literally being cooked as I'm eating.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate you guys joining us.
Yeah, thanks.
I know it can be a little tough remote, but you guys did awesome. And I'm excited to see how it kind of comes together with Detection and seeing you guys break into the different markets. So,
yeah, where can people find you guys if they want to reach out?
Oh,
LinkedIn for myself.
I can drop my Detection email.
Cool. So both on LinkedIn, and then what's the Detection website?
Oh, it would be Rosario, RROZARIO @detection.com.
Perfect. And then just detection.com if they want to check out.
That would be right. Yeah. And the Detection comes with a little surprise. It is a Detection. TECH.
Tech. Got it.
Tech. Yeah.
Why did I not pick up on that? I appreciate that. I've read the company name. I've read it a dozen times. I mean, I'm a dad. I love dad jokes and puns. So sign me up.
And John, naming is hard. We were sitting there trying to come up with Avid and all those. It's just like naming is so hard.
It really is.
Or you can overcomplicate it if you're analytical like us. But yeah.
That spreadsheet that we had, Bobby, was pretty epic.
It was. That was before ChatGPT.
Yeah, no kidding. We were doing the real grunt work back then. Yeah. Well, on that note, we appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Everybody, please go check them out. TECHION.com. We'll see y'all next time. Thanks.
All right.
Thank you for having us.